What's going on, everybody? On My X, episode 28 coming at you. Super Bowl Sunday right now. So it's 3:30 p.m. Central Time. So we got a couple hours before the big game, but we wanted to bring you guys an episode recapping, the first open tournament, basically the start of the new H5 Pro Series. We had the 8 teams advance, so we're going to get into that a little bit and also just looking forward to the rest of the H5 Pro Series. But before I get too far, I'm also joined, of course, by my two friends and co-hosts, starting with Clutch. Wes Price, how are you, my man?
What's up? I'm doing good. I got a lot of stuff to do before the Super Bowl. Hopefully it's a good game. I'm not even actually gambling on it for the first time in a long time, but just want to enjoy some good football. Two legends go at it. Cover some Halo right before it, though.
There you go. There you go. Now on to Hunter JJX. Justin, what's going on, man?
Dude, just chilling, man. It's a Sunday. Just got home from church. Obviously, Sundays are for church. Glad to get some On My X going, but even more excited that we've got some Halo stuff now coming back out. The competitions are starting to heat back up, and so glad to be here. Wes, I got to give you a shout out for your self-control. No bets today. I also also heard a little bit behind the scenes that you were undercover playing some H3 playlists this week. How did that go, man?
What?
Yeah, probably my first time I really grinded the new update. So it was a lot of fun. To be honest, it took some getting used to because typically like you can get away with some stuff, like especially on Amplified or whatnot, but you definitely get melted, and it was a lot of fun. Definitely started melting towards the end and dropped some 40 bombs on some kids'
Who was the
foreheads.
crew? Who are you playing with?
It was just me and Ritzy. Ritzy Pizza is a engineer up at 343. He's actually pretty solid. And he actually had one of the nastiest clips. He got a triple and then no scope the guy that should have been an OV while running the flag in a 3v4. It was actually pretty wild. And hopefully he like gets a way to share that clip on Twitter or something. But we we were sitting right next to each other over at his place, and we were going crazy. I just started yelling at the top of my lungs when he hit the shot.
There you go.
Nothing like gaming next to somebody, right? Like,
yeah,
there's
honestly,
nothing like
that's
it.
true. Gaming next to your homie, or like gaming next to someone that also takes it serious, or like that plays at that level, it's fun. Fun.
So we had a good time. There were a couple people. I was playing on like one of his second gamer tags just because he had it all set up, and there was a couple people in the playlist that I was not too happy with that are in our community and that were very poor mannered. I know some people were like cyberbullying some guys on like every other game. Like we would have a guy on our team or against him, and then I'd have the guy on my team that was like just for some reason just cyberbullying. So cut that shit out. That's a load of horse. And if I see that stuff in person, I'm more likely to be a little bit more vocal and handle that situation there. But
Sheriff P.
overall, good experience.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man, we gotta try to figure out if we can do like an On My X Halo 3 stream or something in the near future. Because if you're getting the games in, then I definitely gotta dust off the controller and get back into it. But
You ain't got no excuse if Wes is the guy getting games in, right, Faisal?
I play Halo every day. It's just not Halo 3.
Yeah,
okay,
you're
fair.
blessed.
That's
okay, rub it in, you know.
No, I mean I have to start playing it too, anyways. With the Halo 3 Pro Series about to start again, and gonna be running it back for now with the same team with Ryan Noob and Rain and Shelly, of course.
Yeah, he made
Nico
it sound
Shelley.
like you were on thin ice last week. There was like,
man, he knows what's up. Like at the end of whatever. Yeah. So, but before we get too lost in the sidetracked, I want to talk about this. Yesterday, I was going to say this weekend, but yesterday we had the Halo 5 Open tournament, the first one to kick off the new season, and I just want to kind of get y'all's thoughts on it before we get into the results. I know LVT ran a little stream production over there, so shout out to those guys. Lewis is always, putting on a good show, and all the people, on his team and on his crew, they all are very passionate and do a great job. So shout out to them for giving coverage. But yeah, man, Justin, what did you think? Did you get a chance to check out any of the matches? What did you think about the tournament yesterday?
Oh yeah, man, I watched a ton. I was like kind of like just doing chill stream stuff yesterday, playing random games, but so I could have it up the whole time and just kind of be, scoping out what was happening. One of the things that like was on my mind was just how badly the scene misses having people like Spartan play. Like I had his stream up for a bunch of it, and just like the level of passion and like intensity, and at the same time just like high tier gameplay. Like I think the scene really missed that. So I was really stoked to see the Magnanimous guys kind of jump in. They had like a super close like game 5 loss series, but then they came back and had to play the same team in losers, and ended up just like, you know, wiping the floor with them in losers. So it was like a cool kind of bounce back for them. So that was my first note. My second takeaway was, my God, Envor. That dude is like unreal. Unbelievable, like playing like world-class Halo 5. So I don't want to get too into it because I don't want to give away too many spoilers before we go over the results, but those are the two things that like really stood out to me. What about you, Wes?
Yeah, I think Flyers just overall played better than obviously everybody. That's why they won, but they looked like they were like a tier above everybody in that class. So when looking on to next weekend and where the big dogs are involved, I think like Flyers definitely sticks out to me as a team that has an opportunity to potentially create some upsets along the way. I'm not going to say that they're going to beat maybe like any of the top 4 teams, but they are solid, to your point. And I was watching Envor's stream a little bit throughout the day, and he was on. His name's been popping up everywhere over the past year since I've been kind of casting a lot of Halo 5 tournaments through Esports Arena. So he's definitely an up-and-comer. He definitely has like good mechanics, good skill, and it's refreshing to see it. Jazero actually played pretty well yesterday too, and I think he's subbing in, if I'm correct on that team. So I saw him actually drop most kills and Slayers a few times. Like good stats all around. Obviously, I'm not able to watch his point of view if I was watching Envor, but it looked like he was playing well from a third-person point of view too. So a lot of up-and-comers potentially on those teams. So it's always good to see like those guys kind of shine when put amongst like where you would think they would fall. That way we can kind of like almost move them up to the next tier.
Yeah, I do want to bring up briefly. I was going to bring that up, the Jazero sub factor there. It's interesting to me. I've teamed with Jazero in the past, and he's one of the kind of players that whatever needs to get done to win, he's there. He's a very kind of like fluid player. Whatever role needs to be filled, he does it, and he does it well. So I was really stoked to watch him win, and then I saw that he was like subbing, and I was kind of like, man, like, I don't know. He's obviously good enough to be on a roster with anyone. Do you think it affects them moving forward? Like if they decide to not play with him, like for an example, next weekend if they decide to play with Septify, like that could be a pretty big change, don't you think?
I think okay, so for me, you could look at it both two ways, right? In one hand, you can say, oh, they just won with Jazero, so you don't want to mess up the flow. But on the other hand, if I was one of the other 3 people that are actually on the team officially, I'm thinking like, hey, we just won this thing and we weren't even playing with our 4th, you know? So it's almost like it almost fuels you even more and gives you more confidence when you bring on Septify and you kind of complete that full 4-man roster. I think they're going to have even more confidence moving forward.
I think to Faisal's point, like I was also stating earlier, it's like these guys probably know that they're in a tier above the rest of the teams that were in that tournament yesterday. I mean, obviously Ryan Noob's team, like Magnanimous isn't practiced. So if they practiced and played and were like well repped, that would probably have been a pretty good finals between the two. Yeah, true. But because these guys grind, like these guys are very aware of where they sit in the scene right now, and they know that they probably went into yesterday's tournament knowing they were going to win, even with a sub. I think to Faisal's point, like that, like losing Jazero for Skeptify or whatever happens there, like they knew that they had bigger fish to fry next weekend, so this one probably wasn't too exciting for them.
I mean, there's still money on the table, but yeah, I totally see what you're saying, and it could be that feeling of like, hey, we're going to be full force. But you know, you mentioned some of the other teams they went through, so let's actually go into the results here. I have them pulled up for your 8 open teams that qualified for next weekend. We have in first place Flyers won that. We mentioned it was commonly Envor, Super CC, and Jazero subbing in. Cobra Kai came in second. Elevate in third. Magnanimous in fourth. Saints, Sacred Money, Ice, and Kingdom were 5th through 8th, kind of rounding it all out. Faisal, right off the rip, looking at the teams, who stands out to you?
Well, I think the 2 teams we talked about are the ones that I'm going to be looking at. We got Flyers. able to win pretty handedly without their full roster, but still they, the point being that they have the talent. And I talked about it in that little prediction video I did. They have the experience, they have the talent, they have everything, and what they proved to me yesterday is that they also have that chemistry that I was looking for, right? So I think they are definitely a team that's going to be interesting going into next week, and I think they can definitely break into the top 8. But to Wes's point, I don't know how much success they'll have breaking into the top 4. But I mean, commonly he gave that little interview after the tournament yesterday. If y'all got a chance to look at that, commonly Hammy was talking about how we can beat anybody. So I definitely liked hearing that. I think that's the mindset you need to have. And I mean, Wes is shaking his head, but it's that underdog mentality. Like you got to think you can beat anyone in order for you to beat someone like that. Like you genuinely got to believe it. And the fact, I mean, yeah, you could say it's questionable saying it like publicly, because you should keep your head down and just like do it if you're gonna do it. But I don't mind that confidence. I like that. And it wasn't like a cocky, arrogant kind of statement. He was just being genuine,
Yeah. So you have to believe. You have to believe, right? Otherwise, there's no way those things happen.
Especially, and to the point, and we have to, let's be realistic too. Like where Halo 5 is currently, like it's not really that indicative of where these teams are actually going to stand moving, like come Infinite time. But that doesn't mean that right now it still means something to a lot of people. So
and you want to build towards your future, obviously.
Yeah,
you don't want
exactly.
To
and these are times where if your players like, if you are the super CCs of the world, the Envors of the world, now is when you gotta, really show yourself. So maybe going into Infinite, those opportunities are there. Commonly he's an established player. He's a freaking gold medalist. So he at the X Games. So he has that clout, I guess. But another team being Magnanimous. I know we had Ryan Noob on the show recently, and he said, we're just playing it to play it, and nothing too serious. And that's how I'm going to treat it, just because he physically said that. He came on the show and told us that. But I can't help but look at that roster, see that they got top 4. They put up some good fights, and kind of hope they could at least, maybe they'll be playing well and they make a push next weekend, so not very likely. I agree, Wes, not that likely. I see you shaking your head, but they got that, they've been there, they've done it, so maybe they'll be an interesting team too.
So I watched a little bit of Ryan yesterday, and I was not happy with what I was watching. I actually turned it off after probably watching 2 games. I was like,
get this off my screen.
Were you watching them early in the day, or were you watching them like later on towards the end?
It was like afternoon my time, so like 2 p.m. PST.
Because I feel like I was watching him and I had the opposite. Like it was later on, it was like towards the end, right before they got knocked out, where I was like, man, like for someone that hasn't played the game, like his shot was steady. He was like making some good play calls, but I didn't watch him early on. And to see the difference for me between when they lost early on in winners to when they came back and had to beat that same team. I think it was ICE in losers. They were a different team just in that couple of hours, and they were like joking about how this was basically their practice. This was their scrims. They're kind of like learning as they go. So
that makes sense. Those guys are good enough to beat ICE. If they're playing solid. But I mean, when we're talking about, you start introducing like I personally have Ryan Noob very high. I hold him to high standards. I think he's easily one, like when I say one of the best of all time, I think like in the top 25, 30-ish. Ryan's up there. And what I saw yesterday was a shell of what I expect to see when I watch Ryan play. That being said, he probably got into a groove, started getting the mechanics back, started getting his senses back in Halo 5, because that can be very difficult to do on the fly with no practice. But like I said, they should have no problem beating a team like ICE. It's like those, like Ryan, Rain, Spartan, like those guys should be competing alongside the Ecos, the Stellars, the Penguins, the Snipe Downs of the world. Like those guys are good enough to compete and push those guys in series, and I don't think that we're going to see that unless they don't get off the game for the next 7 days. 7
days, right? So Wes, my question would be then, looking at these teams who, once again, Kingdom, ICE, Sacred Money, Saints, Magnanimous, Elevate, Cobra Kai, and Flyers, do you see any of these teams potentially breaking in the top 8, and do you see any of them maybe even going further than that?
Top 8, yes. Further than that, no. Okay. I think it's double elim, so maybe top 6 for Flyers, if anybody. But as long as I mean, I don't know how much some of these teams are playing. I know that Sentinels has started playing recently. I've seen them scrimming against a few other teams, but if everybody plays their A game, then Flyers maybe top 8, top 6. Maybe Magnanimous can pull it off if they start to play the game, which I probably expect them to play a little bit more before this week. Other than that, it's like, is top 8 like the biggest accomplishment right now? I feel like you want to be
No,
top 4.
they gotta. I think they're going for. I think they in their heads they got to break into the top 4 for them to
Feel
have made like
good.
for them to feel good. And
Right.
That's where the wall is right now, right? Like the Great Wall to bust right now is top 4. It's kind of been
Yeah.
locked forever, it feels like.
and to that, and speaking of the top 4, are we gonna see Kansas City Pioneers actually win one of these things or not? What do y'all think?
No.
No, you don't think they will?
I'm the biggest KCP fan, you know.
You know what's strange that you're saying no about this, and I'm actually thinking like they could, just because they were always so. I'm not thinking of KC Pioneers from last season in the H5 Pro Series. No matter which of the other 3 teams they played, they would always be right there. And whether they're up and they blow it, or they were down and they close the gap and then they lose to these teams, but they were always like one push away from winning, winning, or one, I don't know, one of these small scenarios away from really getting first place. And I think just through percentages, like they've gotten there so many times, barely like
Eventually,
choked
you
and gotten
gotta,
unlucky.
yeah.
I think they're gonna get one. I think they're gonna get one win at least in this Pro Series. That's my opinion. Justin, what do you think?
I think the best way for me to put it is I think either Kansas City or Cloud9 are both due for one. I think one of those two is going to win one. I don't think they'll
Cloud9
both end
too.
up winning
Yeah.
one. It's funny. I was in a call with Hoax, who's obviously the coach at Cloud9. I was in a call with him last night, and we were talking about the H5 Pro Series and stuff. And he was like, no, like we were going to win that tournament. You know, when they talk about what all the drama and stuff from last tournament with the DQs and all that stuff, he was like, no, like we were all in that mindset and felt that like in that spirit of like, no, this tournament, we're actually winning it. And so I know going into the Pro Series moving forward, like, Eco like is not happy with getting second, not happy with getting third or fourth. Like, so
Wait,
I really,
he was saying they were. What
so,
about that scenario?
I don't know if you remember like how the end of the championship
I
played out
remember that
last
they
time, where
ended
they got that they had to like, with the whole DQ situation. They really felt like they were going to win that tournament up until that all
They were
happened.
losing. Oh,
So-
up until that series.
Yeah, up until when that all. I don't know.
Well,
I don't.
everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah. Yeah, but to like kind of hear that they kind of have that passion and that kind of fire to get back to that position of like winning. I know like Cloud9 is obviously capable of winning one. I think KCP, to your point, Faisal, I think they definitely are kind of at that point now where they're probably kind of getting sick of getting second or third, or fourth and want to win one of these things. So I think either Cloud9 or KCP will win one. I don't think they'll both end up winning one in this Pro Series, but that's kind of my prediction. Wes, what do you think, man? You were shaking your head about KCP.
Yeah, between Cloud9 and KCP, do you think either of them are going to win one of these?
I mean, it's definitely possible. I don't want to just rule it out. I mean, those are 2 of the top 4 teams. I think that they're consistently in the top 4. For some weird reason, I just think that Sentinels just wins out. Like, I just think that, like, they're starting to play a lot of Halo 5. Like, they're starting to individually be really, really good again.
I
Starting
think
to scrim.
Snakebite's going to pop off. I
Yeah,
feel
they're
like
starting to
Snakebite-
scrim as well. Yeah.
Snakebite and Frosty are streaming every day.
That's true.
I know Royal 2's getting on that game. Like, I've talked to Royal 2 on the regular. He's played a little bit and enough to keep up with it. Trippy's a grinder. Like, he's been playing whatever Halo he can get his hands on nonstop.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know anyone that's going to be as practiced as them other than like KCP. And honestly, when you start saying names like Frosty and Snakebite versus the KCP boys, I'm taking the Frosty and Snakebite every day of the week.
So let me ask you this question then, Wes. Like, what do you think is more likely for KCP or Cloud9 to win one of these, or for a different team to sneak into the top 4 and possibly knock one of them down?
KCP and Cloud9 to win one of these.
I
for
agree.
Sure.
I'm right there with Wes too.
For
I think it's more likely for one of them to win than it is for one of them to lose to a team that's not in the top 4.
All it's going to take is those guys playing, like, all 4 of those guys on either one of those teams playing well one Sunday to win one of those things, right? Like, if everybody's on KCP, like, they can definitely win.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not trying to say that like Sentinels is above everybody. I just like have that feeling where could be a kind of a boring like finals if Sentinels finds themselves comfortably like going through winners, because I think if they get the ball rolling, like they have a little bit more practice than what we've seen in the past for these Halo 5 Pro Series.
Them scrimming is definitely scary. Seeing how much they've been gaming and streaming is not what you want to see if you're competing against those guys at all. Yeah, so that's a pretty good way to kind of wrap up our predictions there for Halo 5 Pro Series moving forward. But chat, we want to know, all of you guys watching in the comments, you guys' predictions. Do you guys think Sentinels is kind of locked for that? Do you see any of these 8 AM teams kind of breaking out and doing something special next weekend? Be sure to let us know in the comments below. Also, Wes Faisal, I want to throw this out there. I want to, maybe put us on the spot a little bit. I'm thinking maybe for episode 30, a couple episodes away, we shoot for trying to do a live show. I know some folks have kind of, asked us for something like that. So maybe we'll brainstorm, maybe doing a little live show with maybe some, like Faisal mentioned, some live On My X gaming sessions as well. You guys want to see Wes on the sticks for H3? Let us know. But
you guys
hey,
want to see that.
Yeah, it's episode 28. We're going to wrap things up really fast here. I know you guys got to get out of here. Our info will be in the description. We love you guys. Seriously, thank you so much for all the subs and comments and likes and shares. You guys have been showing us a ton of love. And obviously, it's made us doing this for 28 weeks a lot easier. So we appreciate you guys for tuning in and checking it out. Until next time, this is On My X, episode 28. Signing out of here. Peace, guys.